Welcome into our third hour Smart Men's Business Show inspired for TV, Nile Avenue, plot 42. Well, of course, we are still into our discussions, and of course, in just the shortest time possible, we shall be getting deeper into our business insight of today. And of course, Andrew is going to be joined by Ambassador Eli Ekamahunje, and of course, he's acting Director of International and Regional Economics Corporation in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And of course, talking about foreign policy. Now, of course, the question that we have in mind today, can Uganda's hosting of the G77 plus China signal a transformation in economic foreign policy? But of course, that is what we're going to be discussing today. So if I were you, I would take a pen and have some notes, because I believe today is a big day for learning a thing or two today. And of course, we're talking about NAM, but of course, we shall be focusing now on the G77 plus, because now everyone is focused on NAM, but now we want to have a diversionary on what we expect on the side of the G77 plus China. Well, a very good morning to you, Andrew. And of course, we are glad that you have our ambassador right there with you. And of course, matters regarding foreign policy. Now, take us through, and we are here listening to you.
Thank you, Masika Tsime, and this is Smart Men's Business Insight. I'm Andrew Barije, and of course discussing matters to do with the G77 plus China, the summit which Uganda is actually hosting this particular year in 2024. But of course, getting to understand that this is a group comprising of almost 80% of the world's population and talking about 49% of the global GDP. Now, Uganda hosting such an event is quite something very remarkable when it comes to, most especially, matters to do with redefining its economic foreign policy. Now, for that regard, I'm joined with Ambassador Eli Ekamahunje. Is the Director, International and Regional Economic Cooperation Ministry of the Foreign Affairs. As we break down these matters further, Ambassador, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. A very good morning.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay, now the G77 plus China. I would want to imagine some of the viewers that are watching, maybe before we get into the aspects of foreign economic policy and many more, you can give us a preamble on what the G77 is, the different chapters that are entailed within these meetings.
Thank you very much. The G77 started on 15th of June, 1964, and it was born in Geneva. The meeting was organized by UNCTAD, and at the end of this meeting, the declaration was signed by the 77 founding member countries, and that was the beginning of the G77. Today, of course, like you were saying, there are 134 countries, but they have decided to maintain the name G77 to remember the historical part of how it was formed. And once it was formed, so the Geneva became the first chapter of the G77. Now the G77, like we said, it works through different chapters. One, the first chapter is in UNCTAD. They are talking about development issues. They're talking of trade and development, and so that is where it is anchored in Geneva. Then you have the second chapter, whereby you are talking about developing agricultural, enhancing the potential within agriculture, and so it is anchored within the FAO. So again, you have another chapter in Rome, which is anchored in that way. Then you have another chapter on industrial development, because the global south was realizing that they were behind the other countries, and so they wanted to be able to enhance their industrial capacities. So then the UNIDO part was formed for industrial development, which is centered in Vienna. Then the third, another chapter that they had to look at was negotiating with the existing institutions, particularly the World Bank and IMF, and so that's why you now have another chapter in Washington dealing with issues of World Bank and IMF. And then you have other issues like of the UN, which is UNEP in Nairobi. So those are the 5 different chapters of the G77. And like we said, from the very start, when the G77 was formed, majorly it was formed based on major economic issues. If you look at why it was formed, one of the objectives of why this was formed was, one, to provide the means for the countries of the South to articulate and promote their collective economic interests. Because at the time, there was a feeling that the countries of the South were underdeveloped, whereas the countries in the North were developed. And so they wanted to be able to find a common objective. And the second one was to enhance their joint negotiating capacity on all major international economic and development issues within the United Nations systems. Because if you are going to achieve anything, it has to be within the established United Nations systems. So in order for you to be able to achieve anything, the team thought that if they came together, articulated their objectives, they articulated what they wanted to achieve, they could be able to achieve it jointly. And then the other area was to ensure that they promote South-South cooperation for development. So they were looking at how can they work together, first of all, as a group, because the Global South, like you've stated, it is a huge, this is a huge area.
Very big
because area. You are saying this is the largest grouping within the UN. It is the second after the UN, and more or less accounts for 80% of the global population. And so, if they come together, therefore, as a group, they could be able to articulate their interests. Yes, and I think it's in that perspective that we say the G77 is a formidable force for anybody to reckon with, and it's a formidable force that you can be able to associate with.
Now, let's take a look at Uganda being chairman this time around.
Yes.
In terms of redefining its economic policy. It has happened at the right time because most of the political critics out there, they present a different image for this country, and it has had impact on its foreign direct investment.
Yes.
Recently, we've been battling with debt of over 96 trillion. And reports were out there that our shilling had actually weakened by 0.9%. And this was largely due to offshore investors that withdrew their money from the financial markets because the country seemed to be with the wrong reputation. If it can't clear off its debt, then how can we trust it with our money in terms of bonds? And so how are we seeing this summit redefining our foreign policy, most especially from the economic perspective?
From the economic perspective, one, you agree that the Global South had actually made advances in development, but the COVID-19 also has had its effects, and it was a global phenomenon that did not affect only one country, because it was also affecting investments all over the world. Countries were withdrawing from different countries. Companies were withdrawing from different places. And so this affected the foreign direct investment that was flowing. And this has had a global effect. But the country is, actually Uganda is hosting the G77 at a time when we are now coming out of the effects of the COVID-19 and trying to look at how best the countries of the Global South can be able to come together jointly, to work together, so that we can overcome these negative effects. And like we are saying, the Global South is it's a big market.
Yes.
It's quite a big market for our products. If you look at a country like Uganda, it's an agricultural country. And being an agricultural country, we think we can be able to use our agricultural base as a driver to further industrialization. And so if we can talk of agribusiness, which the government has put in place as a priority sector.
Yes.
So we are looking at this as Uganda could become actually a source of food to the Global South.
Okay.
There are many people who have never understood, who have never heard about Uganda. And now here you have a summit coming to Uganda, and everybody's talking about Uganda. Suddenly, everybody's getting interested to know about Uganda. And so this is a great opportunity for Uganda to be able to showcase what we are able to produce. And it is on that same basis, sir, that the government of Uganda felt that as a result of arranging these two summits, we could have a business forum. In this business forum, we'll have two components. One will have a business exhibition. The business exhibition is to be able to showcase the products that Uganda is able to produce. Yeah. So by showcasing these products, these people, the investors that have been invited from the global south, will be able to look at the products that Uganda is able to produce and see whether they can first of all team up with us in terms of partnerships to improve even on the productivity that we already have, to improve even on the packaging, because sometimes our packaging, we have been having good products, but our packaging is bad. The branding is bad. So if we showcase these products to these prospective investors, they look at our products, and who knows, they can be able to team up with our people, partner with them, to be able to brand these products, to package these products, that these products can be able to find access to the global south market. And so that's why we have invited prospective investors from the global south to participate in this business forum. So this is a great opportunity again for Uganda to showcase what we are able to produce. Two, we think that you talked about in terms of specific areas of investment that the government has put across as priority sectors. Infrastructure is one of those sectors that we are looking at. Uganda are producing products, but sometimes if the product is not able to be exported, passed on to the port of Mombasa and Dar es Salaam to be exported, that can become a problem. So we are looking at infrastructure development. So and that's why we are presenting this time around. Uganda is looking at, in terms of investment promotion, Uganda is saying that we are going to host what we are calling the East Africa Trade and Investment Forum. In this way, we are going to present the projects. Some of the projects we are presenting are the infrastructure projects. So if you can have people participating in the standard gauge rail to be able to improve this infrastructure can be able to facilitate our products to be exported quickly, easily, and cheaply. So all these are issues that we are looking at. That as we host this summit, on these sidelines, there's something that is taking place. We're also looking at what is happening.
Now, on top of that, of the infrastructure perspective,
yes,
it reminds me of China's Road Belt Initiative. How have we positioned ourselves to make sure that we actually achieve this?
I think the Chinese have, on the Road and Belt Initiative, when you look at Africa, it has had a positive impact. And I think the Chinese have now realized that the infrastructure development is very critical for economic development in Africa. And they are now saying that in the 2024 program, the Road and Belt Initiative should be reinvigorated. They are restarting so that they can be able to look at regional projects that can be helpful to incentivize the producers within these regions to be able to work well, so that their products can be exported. So the Road and Belt Initiative and the regional approach that the Chinese are also beginning to take in this area, I think it's very critical.
Okay.
Yes, and since that China is also part of the G77 and part of this this summit, it's crucial for us. Yes.
Now, there has been what has been happening lately, what I can call modern economic partitioning of Africa between the major powers. Most especially for so long when we've had issues with the Bretton Woods institutions, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund. I think there is, okay, at least those are the main ones in there. So how are we positioned ourselves as Africa? Of course, with our cooperation with China, which is okay, to ensure that we get rid of the maximum Western exploitation of our scarce resources through the Bretton Woods institutions.
Thank you very much. In as far as the Bretton Woods institutions are concerned, because we talk of Bretton Woods institutions, we are talking of the major three: is World Bank, IMF, and then the WTO.
The world, yeah. Actually.
Now, the World Trade Organization and the World Trade Organization is being reformed because we see in its governance it's beginning to have a bottom-up approach, and it changes the leadership. Because even we have had an African as the Director General of the WTO.
Yes.
There are some reforms, but of course it has not reformed to the level where
If you're waiting for Ambassador to
remove this.
the disruption of the phone call, but you can clearly see how a very influential piece will be like for the G77, fighting very deep economic policy. So, on to continue that point.
Yes, there are, when it comes to Bretton Woods institutions, today the G77 is being held under the theme "Leaving No One Behind."
Yes.
If you look at "Leaving No One Behind," that is the SDGs, and in these SDGs we are still saying no leaving no one behind. But if you look at the way the implementation has been done, we believe that 6 years to the end of the period, there's nothing to show that that nobody will be left behind.
Okay.
And so we believe that the Bretton Woods institutions have not acted in a manner that were responsive to the needs of the developing countries. And I think that's why the G77 as a group is saying that this has not worked. Therefore, there is a need to change the international financial architect to take into account the conditions of these poor developing countries. And so the need to reform the international financial architect. I think that is very critical because it is quite important, and I think everybody is seeing that it's quite important. And apparently, the developed countries have also begun to realize that there is need to reform the international financial architecture to take into account the needs of the developing countries.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, that's very interesting. Now, another important aspect I'm thinking, we being the chairpersons of the G77, there has been an issue of labor exploitation from our country, and majority of our young, energetic population end up in some countries where they are highly exploited when it comes to incomes and many other aspects. How are we using this as an opportunity to foster other, to lobby other areas, other countries where they can actually be employed?
In terms of labor employment, I think the reason is there are reasons why these people leave. They leave because there are no opportunities. And what we are saying is there are two areas. One, it is important, first of all, to create conditions where these people can be able to operate.
Exactly.
So if we can utilize this opportunity to create more employment, to create more employment for our people, then there will be no need for them to leave. And that's why we are saying that we want to leverage the hosting of these two events to host an investment summit to ensure that we attract investments within this region. If we attract investments within this region, then we can see our youth, instead of leaving for these other markets, they'll be going to the East African region because we have free movement of goods and services. So that's why we are promoting this region as an investment area. Two, in terms of the labor exploitation, because like we said, people move because there are no opportunity.
Exactly.
So the most important thing is to create opportunities. I think for me that would be a very critical component, that we create the opportunities for these youth so that they can be able to stay here. We are imagining that if out of this investment we can be able to achieve, assuming you achieved a 1 billion worth of investments in this country, how many people could be employed?
Thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people.
And how many would be stopped from going?
A lot of them, a huge, like about 40%.
So you wouldn't need to stop them, they would just say they are not going.
Yeah.
So I think, we should create conditions favorable for our people to be able to stay behind and have gainful employment. Because the agricultural sector today, people are refusing to join the agricultural sector. Why? They think it is laborious and they think it is dirty. But if we adopted a science-based, kind of knowledge-based agricultural production, you'll find the youth will be interested to join the agricultural sector.
Okay.
We have a lot of areas. The mineral sector is there. You have oil and gas. The opportunities that are already exist in this country is quite enormous. You wouldn't need to have anybody actually to leave this country. If all these areas were looked, we got investors in these areas, and there were investments in those areas, you'd have everybody employed in this sector, in these different sectors, and there would be nobody wanting to leave this country. This country, I can assure you, it's a very beautiful country.
I agree
in terms of the climate.
I entirely agree.
Yes.
It's a beautiful country. Now, the aspect is in terms of bridging the skilling gap, because our labor it's not competitive enough when it comes to global market trends. We've had issues recently where Nigeria was claiming that our degrees are not efficient. So how are we looking at exchange programs being fostered in here to see that, for example, I saw engineers in China came to train Ugandan engineers. I think it was on Monday. In preparation for this. So how are we looking into having fun?
Yeah, this is what we are talking of.
Yeah.
We are even talking of the triangular cooperation.
Yes.
Whereby, like, we have exchange programs. You could have say, for example, I'll give you a very simple example, which you can root to. You've heard of equipment maintenance center, which was established in Ruwero last year for the road equipment.
Yes.
This equipment was provided to Uganda by the Japanese. And so our embassy in Japan, working together with UNIDO, they found out you could use the triangular cooperation, where UNIDO comes on board, and then a bilateral partner comes also on board, and they work together to form a joint project. And that's the project that was established in Ruwero, where we are having the maintenance center, the equipment maintenance center. So we want they are here. The Japanese came here to provide skills to the Ugandans, the skilling program. So we are trying to look at all these programs, the skilling programs, and there's a lot we can be able to do together as the global South. The Chinese have competence in that area. The Indians have competence in that area. Other countries have competence. So we can be able to work together as the global South so that we can exchange. We have these exchanges, education exchanges. That's why, like, we're talking about UNESCO in Paris. Major is actually looking at education issues. How do we able to have skills, education that is majorly based on skills, because skills are very critical for industrial development. If you're going to talk about industrial development, then you're going to talk about skills, because people are not going to be looking for degrees. Exactly. They're going to be looking for skills. And you'll be employed because of your skills, not because of your papers, but because of your skills. So the skilling is very critical, and I think as a government, the government is encouraging exchange programs in that area as well.
All right, very interesting. It's exactly 25 minutes past 9. I'm still with Ambassador Eli Kamahunje. He's the Director, International and Regional Economic Cooperation. That is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Well, at this point in time, we're going to take a short break, and we are returning still with Ambassador as we break further matters to do with the foreign policy, and of course taking a look at how Uganda will be in position to balance the different interests of the member states as being chairperson of the G77 plus China. Of course, more of those updates are going to be coming up shortly after this break. Stick around.
Smart 24, driving business.
Jovia.
Ng'oyolekera ku lugendo luno olw'obulamu, nkuwa ekirabo eky'amaanyi agatazizibwa, amaanyi okulabibwa n'okuwulirwa mu mawanga ag'ewala ennyo, okutuuka buli wamu nga yadde togenzeeyo. Ensi yonna ng'ekuli mu ngalo, okutambula mu biseera n'okumanya buli kimu ekirina okumanyibwa. Jovia, kino kye kirabo kyange gy'oli.
Tewali kumu ku ki ky'osobola okukola ku mukutu nnandameggwa ogwa MTN. Luxury redefined at Seasan Hotel as you indulge in the splendor of elegant living fit for the royalty that you are. Step into comfort, pampering and blissful customer-centric service as you select from our range of comfy exquisite living quarters furnished to meet with your royal preference. Surrounded by scenic beauty, our tropical setting allows you to escape the glamorous ordeal of city life. Our ambient green gardens will guide you to a place of revitalizing rest. The 3-star restaurant caters to your palate, serving your choice menu ranging from exotic cuisines to local delicacies. Our chefs will serve you full course meals for a truly out-of-this-world culinary experience. Our fully stocked bar to whet your throat, from renowned global brand whisks, brandies, gins, beers and wines to our locally celebrated beverages, you will not lack for any brewage. It's an all-new experience in the East at Seasan Hotel. So visit today at Plot 15 to 19 Spire Road, Ginger, or contact us on +256 751 719 960 and +256 785 354 614 for reservations. Seasan Hotels, luxury redefined.
Smart 24, driving business.
Luxury redefined at Seasan Hotel as you indulge in the splendor of elegant living fit for the royalty that you are. Step into comfort, pampering and blissful customer-centric service as you select from our range of comfy exquisite living quarters furnished to meet with your royal preference. Surrounded by scenic beauty, our tropical setting allows you to escape the glamorous ordeal of city life. Our ambient green gardens will guide you to a place of revitalizing rest. The 3-star restaurant caters to your palate, serving your choice menu ranging from exotic cuisines to local delicacies. Our chefs will serve you full course meals for a truly out-of-this-world culinary experience. Our fully stocked bar to whet your throat, from renowned global brand whisks, brandies, gins, beers and wines to our locally celebrated beverages, you will not lack for any brewage. It's an all-new experience in the East at Seasan Hotel. So visit today at Plot 15 to 19 Spire Road, Ginger, or contact us on +256 751 719 960 and +256 785 354 614 for reservations. Seasan Hotels, luxury redefined.
Smart 24, driving business.
Well, Uganda chairing the G77 plus China summit is quite a huge opportunity, most especially when it comes to consultation. Remember, the decisions are made collectively by all the member states and now presented to the chairman, who's going to be the president. Now, this is a big chance for President Yoweri Museveni to be consulted by different global leaders from 134 countries globally. So, what does this mean? Of course, part of this will be the solutions in the interest of also Uganda's economic interest. Ambassador, I wanted us to start from that particular point.
Yes.
You know, when it comes to consultation from these global leaders.
Yes.
You know, and President Yoweri Museveni is a man of ideologies.
Yes.
How do we see this manifesting into economic development?
We see this as a great opportunity, like we're saying that the global south is emancipating from the effects of COVID.
Yes.
And we are looking at the world that is advancing. We've said that the global south is contributing 2/3 of the global value chains now coming from the global south. We've said also the 2/3 of the total value of exports were moving from the south to the south. And we are also at a time where we are looking at the FDIs, 2/3 of the FDIs to the developing countries coming from the global south. So these are very momentous events, and our president is very well known for articulating these issues better than any one of us. And so we see this as a very opportune moment, and we think that he will be able to utilize this to be able to help the global south to achieve their stated objectives.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, getting into matters of regional integration, which China is actually prioritizing mostly. So how do we see the G77, most especially putting Uganda at the forefront of fostering regional growth, regional integration, and continental?
As you are aware, the Chinese came up with, 2 years ago, they came up with the Global Development Initiative. And the Global Development Initiative was aimed at not removing the existing systems on the 2030 agenda, but they were the Sustainable Development Goals, but it was one of those initiatives trying to be supplementary to the initiatives that were being done. And under the Global Development Initiative, the Chinese are also looking at helping the African countries. And now we are looking at, in Africa, we are looking at intercontinental free trade area.
Yes.
And if we are going to achieve the intercontinental free trade area, one of the major impediments today that everybody is seeing is infrastructure. Africa is completely not connected. So if we get interconnection within the African continent, if we can have the standard gauge rail from Cape Town to Cairo, from Cairo to Nairobi, from Mombasa to Kinshasa, that would be quite good for us. And so we are grateful that the Chinese are also initiating the Belt Initiative, looking also at the regional framework. So those regional approaches are very critical for us, because you cannot be able to work alone. You have to work as a regional grouping, and finally for Africa as a whole continent. And if we are going to work as a continent, we are going to start at the regional level, then from the regional level to the continental level. So these are momentous. These are very good moments, and we hope that something will be achieved for Africa.
And now also taking a look at security. Uganda is known for one of the countries in Africa with utmost peace. So how is using this conference to spread this peace across other member states to foster economic growth?
One of the things that has been agreed by almost everyone is that there's a nexus between peace and development. So you cannot have achieved sustainable peace and security without sustainable development. And neither can you achieve sustainable development without peace and security. So therefore, regional peace and security are also critical. And if you look at this organization like G77, they recognize the importance of regions. So which has been the African approach, that in terms of peace and security, regional peace and security is very critical. and the need to have Africa, for example, have African solutions, whereby the regions be able to be given the necessary capacity to be able to tackle the issues that affect the regions. And then when it is required, the continent could also come in at a stage, but supporting the initiatives at that level. So that approach, I think, is very critical for us. And that's what also the G77 advocates for.
Now, there is the aspect of the capacity building, because when we're talking about having access to such a big market, it really means that you will have to produce to satisfy that market.
Yes.
What strategies are we putting forward to have ourselves ready for that great market?
Fortunately, when you look at the current NDP3, NDP3 is actually looking at export promotion of this country. And in one of the areas, in the strategic, in the intervention areas, they have been looking at increasing agricultural production and productivity. Two things again here. Increasing agricultural production and productivity, because the difference between production and then productivity. Currently, we have been producing, but we have not been productive. So the country is saying that we must move away from the current production to productivity. So increasing agricultural productivity means that you bring in science-based agriculture, knowledge-based agriculture, so that our productivity levels can be able to increase even on a small acreage. We have seen His Excellency the President, the chief architect of this, saying that people should be able to go for value addition. So even if you have 1 acre, you can be able to achieve so much out of that 1 acre. And so this is the approach that is trying to be used even at for the parish development model. So the government already of Uganda has already a plan in this area. And so the question actually is going to be if more productivity is achieved under the parish development model, what more should be done? And I think for us as a ministry, we've been saying we are looking out for the markets for these agricultural products, so that as a result of this productivity that will be increased under the parish development model, then there's need for markets outside there. And that's why we are also talking about best knowledge agriculture, so that the products that are going to be produced will have the market in place. So you don't produce for the sake of producing, but you produce because there is a market, and the market wants exactly that product, the quantity, the quality, the standards that are supposed to be achieved, and also in terms of even of sustainability, because if you're going to access those markets, you must submit a quality product. On top of the quality product, that product, if you're going to sustain that product, it must be of the real standards that are required. After achieving those standards, you must achieve the quantity that is required in that market. After achieving the standards in that market, you must be able to achieve sustainability. So sustainability, again, has to be the overall approach. And that's why I think the country, under the parish development model, they are zoning the country into productive zones, so that you'll have sustainable products that can be able to be sent to those markets. Because if you cannot sustain the market, you'll not be wanted in that market. The supplier, the importers on the other side, they are looking for sustainable supplies. They don't want you to come to a point and say, I can't supply. Okay. So that's why now, currently, if you look at the NDP3, that's what it is looking at. And when you look at what is going to happen in the NDP4, that's what they are looking at. So we think that the country has reached a level whereby they are looking at that point whereby we should be able to sustain our productivity once we have achieved it.
Yeah. Now, of course, we are the verge of mining oil. I think 2025.
Yes.
And I can see, of course, a part of the greatest investors is China. China is investing heavily into that. So how do we see ourselves as a result of this, forming new economic alliances aimed to put resources collectively together to maximally exploit Uganda's oil for the benefit of this country?
Like I stated, we are arranging an investment, a trade and investment forum. And the Minister of Energy and Minerals will be presenting the potential within the ministry in the 3 sectors, both in the oil and gas, in the mining sector, and also in the energy sector. So those are the major three sectors of the economy which are very critical, and we are ensuring we have ensured that among the targeted prospective investors, investors that are coming to prospect in those areas. So we are very cognizant of that, and so our approach has been guided by the Ministry of Finance, which has those projects, and these are the different sectors that have also presented those sectors. So we believe that the investment forum will address almost all those areas that are very critical for our economy, our country.
Now, also that brings me back from the perspective of diversification of our exports. Recently, tourism seems to be attracting quite huge sums of income compared to 2021 and 2022 to about 1.45 billion US dollars,
yes,
exceeding coffee, which has been partly, of course, it has also performed fairly well, though tourism seems to be taking this further. Now, this speaks for us for another industry of conferences and events. Rwanda is doing very well with this. So how are we seeing ourselves using this summit to partake of this market, which is projected to be at about $1,370 billion come 2030?
You're quite right that tourism is one of those sectors, and the MICE industry is one of those critical industries that we think that are quite vital. One, first of all, in it you don't need much investment. Fortunately, God has endowed Uganda with gifted Uganda with its nature, and the whole of Uganda's nature is actually quite resourceful. Apart from the mountain gorillas, which we've been saying that are quite unique to Uganda, and the chimpanzees, but the Uganda's nature is also quite unique and quite interesting. As His Excellency the President has always pointed out, he normally says that Uganda is naturally endowed, and that if you look at the whole globe, that there are only 3 countries which have a similar climate as Uganda. He talks of Ecuador and some other parts of Kenya, and then the other, much of the equator goes through the seas.
Exactly.
So Uganda is quite endowed with nature that is quite unique. And I think what also the ministry has been doing with the Ministry of Tourism, right now, Ministry of Tourism is trying to work with all our missions abroad, and that's why they are partnering. And Ministry of Tourism is even providing financing now to the missions abroad to ensure that we start promoting this sector. Now, the tourism sector is projected to grow. And one of the things that we must say is that despite the fact that Uganda has had unique touristic sites, we have not been able to exploit what we have. Egypt gets over 80 million tourists every year.
80 million tourists.
80 million tourists every year.
Okay.
Uganda gets you can't even talk about it, and yet we have the best tourist attraction
site. Yes.
We have not promoted ourselves as a country. So therefore, Uganda as a destination is less known. So therefore, it is important for us to go out there and promote. But you have seen that our missions abroad have started doing the work, and we want to thank our PS because he has put a mechanism in place to ensure that all these missions begin producing. We've had in the last 2 months, last year in November and December, we had 3 missions bring 2 trips here. What is what the farm trips normally do? You bring in a farm trip, you bring journal writers,
yes.
You bring journal writers, you bring the media on board, you bring photographers, you bring everybody that is actually important in the sector, including the tour operators. Now, when you bring them here, we had a team from the Nordic, from Canberra, from Denmark, and when they go back, they start to write in the papers, and eventually people begin to learn about the destination.
Yes.
Now, people, when they went back, they started to write. We are seeing there's an increasing numbers of tourism. of tourists coming here. So because the tourists are in those countries outside there, they are not here in Uganda. So that's why the Ministry of Tourism is trying to work with our missions abroad, because our missions are the satellites through which we must be able to attract these tourists to come to Uganda. And so we have reached at that time whereby everybody is saying, let's work together as a team. Teamwork is what is going to deliver, so that we stop working in silos, work together as the whole of government. And I think that's that way we are going to be able to ensure that this country achieves what we want. But two, I must state that the fact that these two events are being hosted here in Uganda,
Yes.
all these people have been now looking at Uganda. Everybody's eye is on Uganda.
Is on Uganda.
So this is an opportune time. Uganda has been able to advertise herself without having to do so much. So this is a very good opportune time, and I think now is the right time for all of us as Uganda to be proud and to say that yes, we can be able to go out there and tell everybody that Uganda is a very beautiful country. And when these people go away from here, they'll go back and tell their families.
Exactly.
Who knows? Their families will be able to come back as tourists. So as we host these events, this is very critical. So we are very grateful to our president for having accepted to host these two events. And as you know, the president has been a major supporter of the tourism sector.
Exactly.
And he has always promoted the tourism sector in Uganda. So this is a great opportunity for Uganda.
Okay. Yeah. And maybe lastly, maybe this, it might be a little bit off from the G77, but talking about benchmarking in Africa for Uganda, economies to benchmarking from, if you take a look at Mauritius, it seems to be one of that country, of course, sound economic policies and well-established financial markets. What is the secret?
Talking of sound economic policies, Uganda, I think, has some of the best sound economic policies. I think what has been lacking now in Uganda is implementation. So I think these are some of the things, the lessons to learn, and then we shall be able to catch up.
Okay.
And so these interactions also are
will be very
also
vital
helpful to us. It's quite vital.
Okay. Yeah. Ambassador, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show today. Of course, I've been with Ambassador Eli Kamahunje, is the Director, International and Region Economic Cooperation at Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and of course, dissecting the G77 plus China, what are the benefits for Uganda, redefining economic policy, and all the given priorities that China has for Africa, most especially when it comes to regional integration and infrastructure development. What is Uganda's piece as a result of hosting the G77? Well, this brings us to the end of the show. Smart means a business. It's exactly 10 minutes to the top of the hour. And thanks for being with us all the way from 7 a.m. till this particular time as we are saying goodbye. But of course, maybe just a brief. Remember, you can find us on our social media handles at Smart24TV, that's on Twitter, Smart24TV Official, that's on Facebook, and Smart24TV Live, that's on YouTube. You can stream us at any part of the world you will be at. And also, for those that have decoders, Channel 372, that's on DSTV. You can be able to watch us across the region, across Africa, and the Channel 320 on GOTV. And for those of you that are obsessed with gadgets, you go to your Google Play Store, download the Smart Digital application, and you'll be able to stream Smart 24 TV, NBS Radio, and also Smart FM. Well, I've been Andrew Barije. Smart means a business with my guest, Ambassador Eli Kamahunje here at the Foreign Ministry, Minister of Foreign Affairs. Till tomorrow, have yourselves a productive day. Good morning.
Smart 24, driving business.